How much time do you think a deck should be meta? That's a very interesting question because my take on tier 0 formats, for example, has changed a little bit, right? Because when I only played Yu-Gi-Oh, when I only played and I wasn't the content creator, I used to think that like as long as a format is good, that's it, right? It can just go on, right? Like format is good, why change it, right? But like the longer I'm a content creator for, the more I also hear like different voices from throughout the Yu-Gi-Oh community, right? From like, because all the people in chat, not everyone is like the same mindset as me, right? Because when I used to play, I used to surround myself, of course, with like the competitive players, right? So I was like in that bubble of like I would only hear the opinions of other competitive players for the most part. And now that I'm like out there creating content and everything, and streaming and everything, I have a lot of contact with, of course, arguments from not so competitive players and people that are not like in the competitive bubble as well. But those people matter as well, right? And so my opinion has changed from if a format is good, it can just stay that way, to I think tier 0 formats can be very, very good. Tier 0 formats can be very good in terms of just the gameplay or the skill level or deck building wise and whatnot. They can be very good formats, but they still need to change eventually because a very large part of the Yu-Gi-Oh community does not like when there is only one option. Right? They don't like it when every feature match has the same deck in Top Cut. They don't like it when they want to go to a tournament and they only really have one option or they lose, right? And it's like, yes, tier 0 formats can be good, but they probably shouldn't last for too long. How long exactly, I am not sure, because I think it is cool every once in a while to have a format like that, because when a format is super diverse, it can be very hard to prepare for events. You know, you might not know what to prepare for. You might not know what to expect. It can feel like matchup roulette and everything. Tier 0 formats, to me, every once in a while, they're refreshing because I can really focus on how do I beat that most important deck, right? Practice the mirror match, maybe tech my deck in certain ways to beat the deck, which is not really possible in a super diverse format. So I think both tier 0 formats and very diverse formats have their pros and cons, and I think that's exactly why they should like switch between the two, right? Sometimes it's cool to have a tier 0 format, sometimes it's cool to have a more diverse format, sometimes it's like my favorite formats these days are the ones that have like 3 to 4 viable decks at the top level. I think that's quite cool. But I think the most important thing is that it just switches around, right? I think in general, the Yu-Gi-Oh community, or like maybe people in general, just don't like when something lasts for too long. I think there needs to be some form of freshness every once in a while. And I don't know exactly how long something should last. I don't know exactly how long something should last, but I'm pretty sure that this lasting for 1.5 years is a little bit too long. I think that's too long. I don't know exactly where I would draw the line. Maybe like 6 months or something of like a deck being viable. Like for example, Kashtira. Even though I don't like Kashtira as a deck, I think if they had gutted it on the first ban list where they after release, I think it would have been a little bit too long. Too soon, rather, not too long, too soon. But on the next one, I think they should gut it, right? Like I think a deck should, the life cycle of a deck should probably something around like, it should be something like, first it releases, it's at full power, or maybe it even gets it gets a wave of support to be full power. Then there should be a ban list of like taking away something from the deck without killing it, so it remains playable, which they did with Kashtira, right? And then on the next one, they should probably do enough to either, maybe not completely murder it, but to at least take it away from tier 1, right? That's what I'm feeling like for like top tier decks. Is like, you know, killing Super Heavy Samurai with Scarecrow was a bad idea then. Like, Technically, yes. Technically, that was too soon. I would argue in the case of Super Heavy Samurai, though, they should have just never made the cards that way. Because Super Heavy Samurai was a super toxic deck. Right? It was a toxic deck that if it had been around too long, I think it would have genuinely made people quit the game, maybe. So I think in that case, it was more like, yeah, it's too soon, but that deck was so, like, terribly designed that I still liked it. You know, that they did it.